locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
From aliens to ghosts, demons to angels, and from shadow people to the outlandish, Heidi Hollis is the Outlander.
Welcome everybody to my awesome Friday evening. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Oh my goodness, it is a new year. I'm sorry I have been gone for a bit. Mother Nature or something, or viruses or bugs or something took me down. I don't know what took me down, but I just, it's been a wicked time. I missed the holidays and everything sitting in the hospital. Can you believe that? I've never missed Christmas. It's my favorite. So yeah, I'm sorry guys that I wasn't here. Anyways, I hear my guest is rumbling around. He's probably wrestling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Down his, but wrestling his dogs down. But I wanted to I wanted to tell you guys what this show is about first, because a lot of you guys, I know you guys are wondering who the heck I am sometimes. But this show is about bringing outlandish topics to the forefront, from aliens to ghosts, demons, holy encounters, shadow people to Bigfoot to the outlandish. I always say if it's weird, we're here, and so are you, so stop staring at me. About me, when it comes to the outlandish, I am someone who has been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same thing and understand this crazy, crazy world of ours. If you dare, please go and check out my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com. And you will find so much there about me. And also my pretty fun and interesting Facebook pages. I welcome you to type in there Paranormal Pledge or Shadow People and Hatman Experiencers Group. I also have Faith the Other F Word. Look them all up. Join me. It's fun. And I want to tell you guys how you could also hear this program, because I love this. Inception Radio Network has an app, an IRN app. It's so easy to use. You could fall asleep listening to us for hours on end. It's really cool. I like it. Or you could do what my parents do when they listen to this program. Just dial a simple number, which is 401-283-6700. And I welcome you guys to also call into the program, because I'm not afraid of you. It's okay. It's all right. I can take you on. I swear to God. So feel free to call 1-888-919-2355, or you can Skype your questions and comments in the chat room, which I'm going to be in a second, and also to Inception Radio Network. Just look for them. So, and also, usually at the beginning of all my shows, I do something called the Outlandish Corner. That's special effects. I know, it's fantastic. Outlandish Corner, what is that? That's where I take your experiences, questions, comments, anything and everything that regards things out of the ordinary, and I do my best to give some logical advice if I can. Try to be logical anyways. So I welcome you to write me at dasoutlander@gmail.com. That's DAS Outlander@gmail.com. And you can also go to my Facebook page and send me a message there. Just put a 1 in front of Heidi Hollis. So gmail.com/1 Heidi Hollis. It's really hard. So feel free. I also have a radio chat page on there. You can send me messages too. If you could psychically project it to me, I welcome that as well. So feel free to go that route as well. It's all good. I have a lot of fun doing this. And oh my gosh, I've been so out of practice. It's been several weeks I haven't been here, and I have been joining. I did join Kevin Cook on the show. Past Tuesday is my first back show too, so I'm gathering my energy still. God help me, God willing, it is going to go well from here on out. I promise not to get sick ever again. It was the flu that took me down to begin with. Isn't that something? The freaking flu, everybody. Watch out for that flu. That flu is horrible. It's killing people, killing paranormal people. So anyway, so I'm going to forego. We're not going to do the Outlandish Corner, because I've got a fantastic and special guest I'm rolling out the purple carpet for him, in fact. I'm going to introduce him barely because he can introduce himself more than enough with so much stuff. It is the guy that I have so much fun with on Tuesday nights. Kevin Cook, who is a paranormal researcher specializing in Catholic mysticism. I think they sit around with rosary beads and burn them or something. I don't know. I was kidding. Regarding various sightings and appearances of the Virgin Mary with his book, Marian Apparitions Are Real, Visits of Jesus and Mary. Everybody, a round of applause for Kevin Cook. Woo! They're going crazy, Kevin. Kevin, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, thanks.
I have too much fun with you. I mean, my goodness. But, you are only one of, 2 authors in the world that have written on this topic of Marian apparitions, right?
Well, I wouldn't say 2. I mean, there's not many survey books as far as a survey book being the whole phenomenon. There's different books on, say, Medjugorje or Fatima, Knock, perhaps. But for the most part, yes, there's very few, 2 or 3 in the history of the world have been written as a survey book on this. And I guess, Heidi, the thing is that as an overview, I mean, we get a lot of specifics, but as an overview, oh, golly, even I, having written the book, of course, I looked it over again for the show. It's been a couple years since I wrote it. Mm-hmm. But even I guess, feel in retrospect kind of really odd that I've been given this information and exposed to the things I have because, bottom line, this is the most studied, authenticated paranormal experience there is. There's never been anything even close to this as far as evidence, physical evidence, number of witnesses, photos, all the things that would, you could take to court and get a court decision on, if you will. And now Dr. Tim Barth, he's now dean of TCU, Texas Christian University. He wrote a recommendation for the book, and that's on my website. Marian Apparitions Are Real, and what have you. But it didn't get put in the book itself. But what it amounts to is he's a very big time ghost researcher, and he was dean of the psychology department before he became dean of students, and really prestigious guy. And he says it's really a joke when you compare the two things, like the Ghostbusters or what do they call the TAPS people? They'll run around and they'll have their little meters, and maybe they saw something and maybe they didn't. This stuff is as hardcore as reporting on the Second World War, and it's been going on for 2,000 years.
Jeez, that's amazing.
I mean, what I'm saying is, it strikes me just looking at the book, even though I wrote it, it just strikes me how awesome this info is.
Yeah. It's a question that I've always had in my mind when it comes to people who see Mary versus Jesus is I wonder if it goes according to their denomination. I mean, has that been something that you found to be true, or does it not matter?
It doesn't seem to matter. In Zaitun, Egypt, that was the one that was seen by the very most people over a 2-year period. There were 250,000 people in the square around the Orthodox Church, the Coptic Church in Zaitun, which is a suburb of Cairo. And they're mostly Muslim. And actually, interestingly, the Muslims revere the Virgin Mary as being a special person, as opposed to just like Aunt Phyllis down the road or something.
What is their perspective on her? I've not heard that.
Well, I'm not, completely versed in their background, but they feel she was a special anointed person in religion. They do view Jesus as having been a prophet with some validity. Of course, they look at Muhammad as being the chief prophet, etc. But they still look at Jesus as having a person of stature, and Mary is one having one too. And they revere the Virgin Mary. I know that's unusual, but it's true.
Wow.
But in other words, of the 250,000, I'd say, golly, at least half were Muslims that were in the square. But no, you experienced something recently, which that odor of sanctity that you experienced is what really set me on the path of writing the book. And I guess I probably should mention that. is how you got to, to do that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what I was doing was I converted to Catholicism, say 2006 from the Anglican Church, and I was on a real estate buying expedition to upstate New York in 2008, and the property wasn't just quite what I wanted, so I was going to just plan. I was going to fly out of Albany Thursday morning, so I was just going to be a sightseer, a tourist in the Mohawk Valley, very beautiful place, about 40 miles westbound of Albany on Highway 90. And, Adirondack Mountains, all that. And, well, I've only played tourist for about 10 minutes till I came across Our Lady of Martyr Shrine, which is right off the highway, basically in a town called Fultonville. Well, Auriesville kind of is disbanded into just Fultonville, basically. But what it amounts to is, I figure, well, I'm a Catholic now. I'll go check this out. And very beautiful grounds. It was maybe 70 to 80 acres on top of a kind of a plateau. Not a real high plateau, but about a third of a mile up. And just really nice grounds, couple chapels, and just a nice layout. And it was real breezy, too. I mean, I'll say that for a reason, but it was, September. It was starting to get kind of cool up that far up north. And what happened was I started, after about the first 10 minutes of walking around the grounds, I started smelling an overpowering, grab you by the throat smell of roses. And I mean powerful. And I have bad allergies in Texas, currently living, and you don't get over them. And I've had this experience. If I'm gone for 3 weeks, it cleans out of your system, but just for a couple of days, it doesn't. And so, in other words, I don't have like really great sense of smell, but this was like powerful. And the only roses were about 20 acres away from me in the shrine's grounds, and it just went on and on and on. And I went in the museum bookstore they have up there, and I asked the curator there. I said, "What's up with this? I sell trees, and I see pines, maples, that kind of thing, but not anything fragrant." And she was like, I slapped her in shock. She says, "You smelled it too?" And I said, "Yeah." And what happened is she's been there 12 years at the time. I should probably, about 15 now, but 16 now, but. Every 6 months to a year, someone experienced the odor of sanctity there, and they always come in to see her because she's the one mainly on duty. And I should say also there was no. This was about pretty early in the morning, like 9:30, 10, and there were no services going on. There's no incense floating around, this is just this is pretty rural setting.
All right.
And what it amounts to is this was potent, and there was no logical, natural explanation for this.
Now, I can't remember. Did you say at the time you were Catholic, or?
Yes, I'd converted to Catholicism a couple of years before.
By that time. Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
But I always had an interest in Marian Apparitions from years past. And here's the thing. Since I experienced this odor of sanctity, and by the way, it was powerful. It was... you know me from having associated with me for a year or two, that I'm kind of a hard-bitten old cuss.
Nah.
Yeah, but and not easily moved by stuff. I mean, I've been in a lot of life and death situations and come out pretty good.
Yeah.
But this was like awesome, because I guess you've had similar kind of experiences, is that once you get exposed to the holy and stuff, it's like, man, everything else is like kitty litter compared to that,
Nothing compares. It truly doesn't.
No, it doesn't. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, oh man. I mean, it was so good, Heidi. I was thinking, I was trying to work a deal. I was saying, look, if all this is out there and I've made the grade enough to at least experience this, let's just cash in the chips now. This is a good place to croak as any. Let me do it right here and get it done. But they said, I guess they threw me back in the water. but it was that awesome is what I'm saying. You didn't want to go back. And it was similar to an out-of-body experience I had once, only this is much more majestic.
So when you smelled it, did you get hit with a sense of awe or more of a wonder? Like, where'd that come from?
Well, at first it was just kind of crept up on you, but then it was awesome because I realized that, hey, this is going on and on. I mean, this isn't like, in the context of the nursery business that I do, I'll smell something periodically, but not even that much at that. This went on and on. I knew it was something bizarre. I knew it was because the only roses, like I say, were near a statue of the Virgin Mary 20 acres away. I mean, maybe a bloodhound could smell it, but I couldn't. And anyhow, I knew then there was a feel to this place, a feel to it that's different, Heidi. It wasn't your regular old place. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's nice churches around, sure, yep. But this was different. This had a feel like I even had thoughts going through my mind as this is really holy ground. My goodness. And, I've been through lots of churches and what have you, but this had a distinctive feel. And also one of the priests at my church now, I told him about it. He's very familiar with Our Lady of Martyrs Shrine in Orriesville. And he said, yes, there is that feel to it. There really is. I mean, because, by the way, one of the things about it was that, when I talked to Carol in the bookstore, the curator, she had a map of the shrine. She says, you probably smelled it right here at the strongest point as far as the smell of roses. And she was right. And that was where the first rosary was said in that part of the country in 1642.
Oh, wow.
So there was so obviously she knew from other people they were accurate, and that's where it really whacked you. And that is about where say that was the strongest point of the smell. But right. I'd been smelling it for, acres before. Right. But yes, that was really something, Heidi. And it was something you could never forget. If I lived to be 300, you never
it's being mentioned here in the chat room, and I'm not Catholic, so I don't know what gets spoken of in the Catholic Church, but Carol and Lorraine are mentioning that, this is like something they have not heard of, odor of sanctity, that it's as if this is something that, Catholics don't discuss often in the church. Is this a known phenomenon among Catholics?
Oh, yes. I don't know where Carol's been, but I know the gal that dealt with my annulment at the church, they have basically an advocate that.
Oh, no, it's just a question in general, not just Carol. It's just,
no. But what I'm saying is most Catholics are very familiar with the odor of sanctity. I'm not.
So it does it gets discussed that this is something that could happen to you. It's like the Holy Spirit almost, or.
Well, it's not something. Okay, let's put it this way: it's not something that every Tom, Dick, and Harry experiences. No, but it is very, very much of a common experience for those that have been exposed to these apparitions or holy experiences. I can give you one example. The gal that did my annulment, like I say, through the church, avoided my marriage to the hypochondriac wife. This gal was at her stepmother's bedside, and there's a whole slew of them in there. The lady was dying and so forth. And the odor of sanctity spread through that room. So much so that all 8 people in the room started saying the rosary. In other words, it does happen at different times. It's just, it's not as common as, sprinkling yourself with holy water or something, but it definitely is an experience that does happen. And it has also been associated with Catholic saints like Padre Pio, St. Catherine Labourse, others. But this specific smell is mostly associated with Marian apparitions for the most part. Well, get this. There's
a guy here, Bill, in the chat room who has an interesting thing that's happened to him. He said, what's your interpretation of the smell of flowers in a room suddenly when there are no flowers in the vicinity? That this has happened to this person, Bill, a few times.
Well, that was kind of like the gal that was talking about the hospital room where there weren't any real amount of flowers. Might have been a bouquet or something, but probably not. This is more of intensive care kind of setup. And also where I was, there was just a handful, Heidi. And also September, the poor bedraggled things were about on their last legs anyway. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's September in New York, upstate New York, about, hop, skip, and a jump from Canada. So, I mean, the flowers had seen their lifespan about gone. So what I'm saying is, yes, around Padre Pio, the saint who lived in the 60s, it wasn't so much, there was a floral scent. It wasn't quite the rose scent as I understand it, but he exuded a scent, and he didn't wear cologne or anything like that. I mean, it goes part and parcel with Catholicism. You don't have to be a Catholic to experience it, but it definitely is a phenomenon that most Catholics would, know about.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and for this, Bill mentioning this has happened to him, he kind of associated it potentially to have been, past loved ones. It kind of reminded him of that. Do you think that, I don't know, I guess, if you knew that Aunt Susie loved carnations, you smelled carnations.
Oh, yeah. I know what they mean there. I mean, I've heard of people who had a ghostly experience of their dad smoked cherry blend pipe tobaccos, if you will. And I think that is what it was. And they had, I think there was kind of a haunting in that case where they smelled old grandpa's cherry blend pipe tobacco. But this is way more majestic than that. I mean, this is like grab you by the throat kind of a thing. And it was very, very, it was very appreciated. And at any rate, it spurred me to write the book. And I do urge anybody that can to go to Our Lady of Martyrs Shrine in Orisville, New York. You'd fly into Albany and take a rent car 40 miles westbound of Albany on Highway 90. It's a beautiful place. See the Adirondacks, see the shrine. It's a 130-year-old shrine, which really commemorates it. There's a Saint Kateri, who was the first American Indian saint, and she was in that area too. And that area was highlighted with her elevation to sainthood this past summer.
Oh, very interesting. So this is, I mean, I'll share what happened to me for people that haven't heard me discuss it on your show. On Tuesday, this happened, it was like the second week of December or so, this past December, with myself. And I don't know. It's like I went to a friend was leaving. She's moving to Africa for a bit to help in some research, and so we're having a little going away party and whatnot. And me having had some crazy things go on as far as health wise, my neck and being broken and all. One of my friends there, she's Irish and Irish American, and she traveled to Ireland to go and take in the sights and sounds, and then she decided to climb the highest point in Ireland. I don't recall what that area was.
It's a mouth-breaking name. I know, I've seen it.
Yeah, and she said that up there used to be a monastery where monks used to live, and the place was no longer standing, but many miracles were said to have taken place there, and people were told and welcome to go to the well that they used to use to get some of the water because it was considered to be holy water. So she said I climbed for hours hiking this mountain or this area, and she said literally got on my hands and knees, scooped out the water out of the well, and here it is. I'm very, very, very she doesn't share this water very often. She said, sure. I give it. Oh, great. Did you hear those sounds? I'm here in Chicago. It sounded literally like gunshots just now. Beautiful.
Happy days.
Yes. Yeah. Did you hear that? It sounded like a shotgun.
Yeah, I heard that.
You heard that? That was crazy. Oh, my goodness. So somebody just got killed in Chicago. I'll turn on the news here shortly to see who died. That's horrible.
A nice place.
Yeah. So anyways, give me 2 seconds. Yeah, so horrible place. Anyways, I would I think perhaps I should call 911. Maybe my car got shot up. I don't know. But
probably not.
But so this is what took place. So my friend, she goes and she dabs some of this water on my forehead. She blesses me just on my under my chin and a little bit on my neck, and she's like, there, so your neck will never bother you. And, you'll have good health and all that good stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. Thank you. She blessed me 3 times with this precious water of hers. And I'm like, wow, that was really sweet of her. And I'm like, and she's sitting there talking to my other friend. And I'm going, oh, wow, that's rose water. That's really smells good. Wow, that's interesting. I'm like, so did you, I'm thinking she may have, put a little, rose scent in there or something like that. And I'm like, I'm telling her this, and she's like, no, Heidi, no, I didn't. And I'm like, huh? No. I'm like, I smell it. It's so strong. It's really, it's a pretty
it's potent when you smell
rose smell, yeah. And the people in the chat room are cracking me up right now because they're talking about the gunshots. But anyways, so I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. And she's like, Heidi, I think you're experiencing that thing, that Catholic thing. I'm like, what do you? I said, oh my God, odor of sanctity. She's like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, my friend Kevin talks about this. I'm like, I smell roses. And I'm like, smell me. And they're like, I don't smell it. I'm like, come on. I mean, I smelled straight up roses. So it was pretty amazing to me. And to come to you and say, oh my goodness, OMG, Kevin, well, I did experience this.
It happens, and it's been something that's a frequent experience for, like I say, 2,000 years. So, like I say, I like Barth, the doctor I was telling you about, the PhD guy. He just he's a paranormal consultant to different ghost groups and all that, but he said that's all baby stuff compared to this. I mean, we're talking a 2,000-year run, consistent. Images, and I'll get into more details after the break and what have you. But I mean, there's physical evidence of this, Heidi. It isn't just experience. And I guess all I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to make more of myself than I am, but I am a good witness, if you will, and I'm not shaken by stuff. And if I saw it, it happened, is what I'm saying. I don't run around seeing, ghosts coming out of the Subway restaurant or experiencing a lot of phenomena in my life. I mean, relative to Catholic Church, I have experienced a lot of phenomena, but not in other parts, not in just day-to-day life.
Do you think it counts or matters that not too long after that I got put in the hospital? I'm just kidding. Did the holy water not work on me? I mean,
they might figure, Protestant, we don't need
listen to that. Listen to that. Now, your bio does say that you were a Methodist preacher at one point. We will get into that soon. So you were one of my people at one point. But actually, that's going to lead me into the next bit after the break here, because Carol in the chat room has asked, was there something that happened to you that prompted you to convert to Catholicism? Because, I mean, that's quite a leap. So I want to get into that after the break, because I just can't imagine totally like, I'm going to go over here. I don't know. It's a bit different.
Well, not just that. It's not just that, Heidi, but I'm not just a Catholic. I'm like those old Sicilian women out in the East Coast that light candles all the time and stuff.
And I'm beat their rug with a broomstick, right? But so we're going to get to our break. You guys are listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network, and we will be right back.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Hi, this is Heidi Hollis, and I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about myself and my writings, because I am a published author. I write on everything from angels to aliens, ghosts, demons, shadow people. I don't know, you name it, I do it. And I would like to invite you to go check out my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com, which shows, oh my goodness, all my books, and I think you guys will dig it. Jesus is No Joke, which is about holy encounters with Jesus, which is actually quite different than what you might expect. And then my book, The Secret War, which is based on shadow people. And I am also a cartoonist, diary blog of the Fickle Fighters. These are kids' cartoons that I do, and they are exploring absolutely everything that I write about in my regular books. So I invite you, please go check out my website, HeidiHollis.com. Check out my books. I think you'll dig it. It's something different. It's something new. And I write just as I speak. So don't say I didn't warn you.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again. Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Hello, folks. Heidi Hollis is rocking the airwaves every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on IRN. But if you want to learn more about Heidi, check out her amazing website at www.HeidiHollis.com. For IRN, this is MJ.
From aliens to ghosts, demons to angels, and from shadow people to the outlandish, Heidi Hollis is the Outlander.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here. We're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. Phone lines are always open at 1-888-919-2355 because Kevin Cook, my guest, loves talking to callers. Don't you, Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
He does not.
I'm a big people person, you know.
I'm choking over here on my coffee because we all know that's not true. But it's all good.
Well, you know, there was a Saint Kevin, and I don't try to emulate him, but there was a Saint Kevin who was a hermit, and he loved animals, and he had an uncommon bonding with animals, which is about like me. I'm kind of like a Pied Piper.
Who would have thunk it? But I wanted to get back to what we were discussing just before the break. Carol had asked if something had happened in your life that caused this Methodist minister, that's Kevin, everybody, Methodist minister, to suddenly drop his robe and convert over to holding a rosary and become
Well, you got to
Catholic.
understand, I was a student Methodist minister when I was going to college. That was a short interval. It wasn't like a long history of being one. But most of my life, I was an Anglican. Okay. Okay. But by the same token, I always had almost a knowledge that eventually I was going to be a Catholic.
Really?
For real. Yeah, I know. I've never told you that, but yes, always. I even told my business partner I've known for 25 years, I'll take last right sooner or later. But what I'm saying is I knew somehow instinctually that, yes, I was going to be a Catholic eventually. And I always was drawn to Catholicism, and I was always drawn to the study of Marian Apparitions and stuff, because I knew when something had validity, and it did. And what happened a year before, like I say, when I went up to New York in 2008, I'd been a Catholic for a couple of years. And what, say, circa 2004, 2005 that prompted me to do it was like I was seeing the Virgin Mary everywhere I come across, almost unnaturally. Reference is way out of the norm, okay? And I thought, okay, I'll check it out. And and I started taking RCIA class at the Catholic Church, which is, the initiation of Christian adults. And that's what happened. But yes, it was something very profound, like I was seeing Mary every time I had a cup of coffee or something. And somebody was telling me something, if you will. And I did follow it through. And this was kind of the confirmation, I guess, that I was supposed to write this book. And it really is, like I say, like Barth and I talked about, you'd think that this would be as well studied a thing, as much evidence exists, and as well authenticated, if you will, an event these are. Mm-hmm. You'd think this would be a subject of daily conversation. And the only time you hardly ever hear of it is, somebody think they see a burnt piece of toast that was on eBay and some laughable thing, or they'll see the image of the Virgin Mary in some stained glass that got discolored. And, that's just matrixing. That's, you and I could stare at some clouds, and what does it look like, Heidi? Oh, well, it looks like a horse. Yeah, I think it looks like a dog or something like that. That's just right. The mind has a normal, is directed into make patterns of things, if you will.
Yeah.
But this isn't like this. This is clear cut. There she is. It's over, boys. That's it. The rose thing was not, like just some wishy-washy notion. This was powerful, grab you by the throat deal. And after, by the way, back up in Oriesville, after I had the discussion with Carol, I walked around, and the rose issue had died out while I was in the museum. But as I was walking into the or back to the car in the parking lot, it was kind of had one more whiff, like a pat on the head on the way out.
Oh my goodness. Or a swift kick in the pants to
yeah.
move on with your faith and get it going better or something. I don't know. But it's amazing what those types of things inspire a person.
But I came back a year later to do it on another trip up there, and I was sniffing around like a bloodhound, and I didn't smell. What's the matter with you, buddy? But
that's funny. I can understand wanting to recreate that, because it's kind of like, when something amazing happens to you, it's not that you question yourself. It's not that. It's just so far out there and so amazing. You just want a little piece of it. To share a little bit about, where I'm coming from when it comes to these types of things. I wrote my first book, The Secret War, in 1997, and I was, sending it out to all these different places and publishers who were authors of the paranormal themselves, who also had publishing companies. So I was sending this book out, and it was in regard to aliens, and the first book on shadow people, and just trying to get somewhere with it. And I it took me 2 months to write that book and 4 years to get it published, which is just god awful. In the meantime, I have a sneaking suspicion some of the contents were being leaked and shadow people, whatever. So anyways, so I was like, okay, I'd put something in there in regard to people claiming to see Jesus in, a tree trunk or their piece of toast or their cereal. It was just like, it was ridiculous to me. And I had, at that time, I was experiencing so many things. I'd seen everything from shadow people to demonic to alien things and angelic beings. And I even saw people in white robes. And I'm like, gosh, I was not, I was raised Methodist, and my family wasn't overly religious. I think it was a holiday for my parents on Sundays to throw us to church because they didn't go. They just made sure we went. So I'm like, so it was like a history lesson I was having to sit there for. So I believed in God, I believed in Jesus, but I just didn't think like I had to do a whole heck of a lot, towards it. But I said my prayers like routine, and they were cookie cutters, not feeling it was, just repetitive stuff. So I had put in that book, in regards to Jesus sightings, I honestly put in the book, if Jesus were around, I think I would have seen him by now, because I felt inundated with so much at the time that I just felt like, what more could there be out there? So I put that out. I put that in the book. I was just about to put that book out when I had my first encounter with him. And I took great pride in teasing my friends who still went to church on Sundays, being young and in college, who takes time out for church, really? I mean, you take time out to go to the clubs, and have some fun and go dating and having a good old time. I was not a person that drank or anything, but I did like to go out to dance and whatever, hang out with my friends. But it was just strange to me. And I'm like, I tell my friends, say a prayer for me, because I don't know if, if I stepped a foot in a church, I'd probably start on fire or something, because I haven't been in one for so long. And then to have had the encounter that I did, and all I could say to my friends was like, wow, Jesus is no joke. He's for real, because it hit me with such a reality. And I had to rewrite that chapter in my book where I had bashed people, essentially, doubted that they had seen such a thing, and changed my whole tune. And people that knew me, they were just like, wow, Heidi, you really must have experienced something, because, right about now you'd be making fun of me for going to church today, and I'm like, no, keep going. Send your friends. Tell everybody to go. But the thing for me, though, this is bizarre. Even though I had the experience that I did, I didn't feel like I had to go to church to experience God, Jesus. I felt quite confident in my faith. It went up exponentially, but I moved around too much, and I was a busy college student. I didn't take time out for the church thing, and I still haven't, but I am so faithful, and I'm quite Christian, and what I believe and what I do. So it's like, but it's so precious, those experiences. I've seen him 5 times now. So,
well, I haven't seen him personally, but now, it was kind of strange when I was a kid, and I mean a real young kid. I sensed his presence around me, and it was kind of weird, but I did, and it went on for a long time. And the thing that was strange was I saw a Facebook depiction of Jesus walking next to you, and that was the feel I used to have. And I thought, whoever drew that up was experiencing the same thing I experienced as a kid. And it was kind of, holy mackerel. And I was a minister early on, but I've always been pretty hard bitten. And, they thought I'd be quite a successful minister and all that. But my ex-wife didn't want to stay in the boonies up there. And it was just, to stay, I started going to marriage counseling, and okay, lady, we'll leave. But what I'm saying is, which was crazy because she wanted extra money, so I used to slip off down to Norfolk or Wilmington, Delaware, and sell stuff, shipping tape and stuff on the side from my old company. But in other words, there's no placating her. She just wanted to be out there. There's a fishbowl atmosphere for a woman as minister's wife. It really is. But beyond that, having experienced this so strongly, and there's been half a dozen other things that have happened in the church since, previous to this experience. Like when I was going through that RCIA format that is an introduction to the church, and you get confirmed after about a year. The first time I went to Mass, I'm from the East Coast. I know that, at least the Gothic-looking churches and all that.
Uh-huh.
And the one I go to is so modern, it could be a movie theater lobby in the front. And I didn't recognize the holy water founts as such until I saw them, where they were. And, so I go through the church and come out, and I'm trying to beat the traffic because 2,500 people. I'm trying to get, hit the car before I get a crowd. And I crossed myself mechanically with the holy water because that's what Catholics do. And there was a tremendous coldness that rushed through my torso. I mean, strong. And I thought, whoa, this is different. And it happened the first 2 times I went to that church, and I told the deacon about it, who was over the RCIA program. And he said, Kevin, you're not the only one that's had that happen here. Wow. And and other small but very pleasant things. I guess I could tell you the St. Patrick's story too. It seems appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
But this was only like, 4 months ago now. I was early to Mass, and I didn't figure, okay, I'm going to be sitting for an hour, and I didn't want to sit another 20 minutes because, there's too much sitting, so I thought I'd mill around. And then I had this strong notion is go to the bookstore. And then, you know how you do, you have a little internal debate. Well, I don't really need anything. I've got,
right,
everything a fellow could have. And it was like, no, go to the bookstore. Okay. And and on the way over, it was like, see if you can find a St. Patrick's Holy card. And I thought, well, now here again, I'm really more of a Padre Pio or, St. Bernadette guy, not just look. Okay. So at any rate, I wind up in back of a woman and her daughter who are vexing the cashier about where the St. Patrick's Holy cards are, and they can't find any. I'm thinking, now, wait a minute. I've only been in 2 times in 10 years to that place where there's been anybody even in front of me in line. And to be asking, and St. Patrick, yes, he's a Catholic saint of stature, but he's not your typical patron saint, if you will. He doesn't stand quite as tall as some others. And at any rate, that was not just a happenstance experience. That was bizarre, and that was a real. That was and I was actually prayed for something similar. Like, how did you forget about me or something? and I got that, so I was glad to get it.
Right.
But my main problem is that I do really believe very strongly in the Catholic Church and the Church in general and all this, and I have to watch the rest of my personality with trying to get in the way of the message. Like, I was on a radio show some 3 or 4 years ago, and some guy starts smart-alecking me, and I start threatening to go out there to Maryland and find him, and you can't. I don't want to destroy the message with me being a hard case, so because what I'm dealing with is holy and precious, and just because I'm an old buzzard, it doesn't. that's not the issue. And in other words, you have to behave yourself when you're representing good.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know if you knew that. I was just.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So,
for people that don't know, me and Kevin know each other, and I like to tease him. So there.
No, I'm just an old, hard-bitten old buzzard, and I've been through a lot of unusual experiences, if you will, and I'm just an old martial artist and everything else. I'm just not your average guy, but this is something way beyond the little peculiarities of what kind of person you are. This is the holy, this is precious, this is serious business here. And it really is remarkable that, like this Dr. Barth guy was saying from TCU, how people just are ignorant of it.
Yeah.
And also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, it's just curious. There's something that's being mentioned here in the chat room I want to mention to you, but go ahead and finish your thought on that.
Well, okay, just one quick thing is the biggest, and we could deal in details later, but the largest, as far as number of witnesses of these events, was between 68 and 70, like I'd mentioned, in Zaytun, Egypt, and that was in front of a St. Mark's Coptic church there, and that's an Eastern Orthodox church. Mm-hmm. And most Catholics are not even familiar with that, even though the Vatican investigated it, because it didn't fall in the category of one of their domains, if you will. Mm-hmm. in other words, that's it. I have Orthodox apparitions, and Marian apparitions are real, and that's the Eastern Orthodox tradition. And most Catholics don't know about Roman Catholics don't know about those either. So I mean, there's a lot of it. A lot of people aren't aware of a lot of these things. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, no. What do you think about this debate? Because I've heard this for years, and I honestly, at one point, jumped on this bandwagon and thinking the same thing at one point, that Mary was potentially an alien abductee. That Jesus was, this, good hybrid alien. And what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Norrie and I, George and Norrie, when I wrote this book, I was on the Coast to Coast in 2010, August of 2010. And, Norrie kept coming up with this alien bilge. And yeah. And, okay, I don't think much of it, no. I think they don't have anything to do with aliens. The aliens aren't trying to imitate the Virgin Mary. This has been going on for 2,000 years. And the aliens aren't trying to get me to go buy a St. Patrick's Holy card or smell roses up there in Orisville, New York. I mean, come on. In other words, what I'm saying is a lot of these shows and a lot of phenomenology things are tied up with UFOs, so they see UFOs coming up out of the toilet, if you will. And
I've seen that. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's in other words, Norrie was doing it to the point where I was about ready to say, listen, Ace, I don't know what game you're playing, but it's not real funny.
You're going to call George Ace?
Yeah, I would. And
that's like saying chump or buddy, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But maybe I was trying to be pleasant about what I call him. But what I'm saying is, it's in other words, it's to me, it's like, I get the reason he was trying to inflict this on me is that in several Marian apparitions, it has seemed like she came in like at Fatima, like she came in a globe of light. Well, so what? I mean, how are you supposed to come from heaven in a Jaguar? I mean, how does Norrie know? That doesn't mean that it was a UFO. It doesn't have anything to do with stinking UFOs, right? Yeah. But that show was so wrapped up with UFOs that they see UFOs coming out of the Subway sandwich. I mean, it just, in other words, it's stretching things. Yeah. And there's been many different, I mean, you got to understand, in the book, Marian Apparitions Are Real, that's available actually at kevincookshow.com, as are your books. There's a chapter, there's something I got in the back that's a chart of Marian apparitions just from the year 1900 through the current day, a little over 100 years, and there's well over 100 apparitions that are listed. And by the way, they've occurred that frequently throughout the 2,000 years. So in total, the church is aware of at least 3,000 apparitions, at any rate. Mm-hmm. That said, that's compiled by the International Marian Research Institute, and they allowed me to replicate that chart in the back of the book. And also, by the way, the book was on the bibliography for the International Marian Research Institute that's part of the University of Dayton. It's the main research group that deals with this issue for the church. And it was reviewed academically, and in other words, as a feather in its cap, if you will, and academically approved. And what I'm saying is, Heidi, there's very few of these apparitions that he would even have any analogy at all to UFOs. UFOs are one little pebble of sand on the beach, if you will.
Right.
And there does seem to be, what has been pretty well constructed by theoretical physicists, that there are many dimensions. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when Jesus said he went to, at one point, the Bible says he went to Tartarus, and that was another dimension. It wasn't, a town. It was another dimension because he was going to deal with some demons that were held prisoner in Tartarus. That whatever that is, it's another dimension. It ain't here. There's a whole lot of complexity out there, and UFOs, I think, what I'm saying, are just one aspect of that complexity.
Yeah.
That's all. So.
When I hear about, people thinking, Mary was just abducted and all this stuff. Now, from what I have gathered and the information that I had, encounters and interactions with different alien beings, oddly enough. And it's what I based my book, The Secret War, on. And what they told me about alien hybrids and those that have been abducted, it's the equivalent of a demonic activity and creating these hybrid beings as being essentially minions of them. Negative minions that are here to take over and do horrible things. I am like, whoa, in having witnessed and seen a hybrid, and it was up to no good. And, it's like, oh gosh, to equate Mary and Jesus, it's so just the opposite of what I've experienced and others that have been experiencing. I mean, people get ripped from their homes, they get raped, they get implanted with a kid, or and then they're given birth to these horrific looking things. Sometimes they look pretty human, and then these things go on and carry on living here on the earth because their bodies can withstand the earth, unlike their little weak bodies. These things are half human, half alien, so they can live upon the earth and yet be under their control to do their bidding. And I'm sorry, but alien abductions are not for the good. Yes, there are really, really good beings out there, and I was fortunate enough to have, dealt with the more positive ones that spoke of Jesus being who he said he was, and, God being real, and, there are bad aliens, and, there's static going on between some different alien beings. So it needs to be, everybody's afraid that we're, going to insult aliens, I think. Like, oh, people don't know how to act, because an alien comes along and they're all good. No, there's some rotten, low-down ones out there, too, that are, that respond to the name Jesus and run out of the room. Why did they do that?
I can say it when I'm doing an interview back in 2010.
If Jesus is one of theirs, they wouldn't run from his name. That's all I'm going to say. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's, like I say, Nori was getting to be a little bit tedious with it.
Yeah.
And I, I just about had a belly full of it. But I mean, it's funny what got me once. Well, more than once. But I mean, like I say, the guy that was irritating me from Maryland, I mean, he was calling me like a crock, basically. And I'm thinking, look, all my stuff is researched with witness statements, photos, blah, 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 blah. I mean, academically researched. This isn't this is a very readable book. It contains 20-odd apparitional accounts. And I took the ones that were just letter perfect, that, very well authenticated. And it's got all kinds of photos. The photo on the book is actually taken from Medjugorje, and we're getting close to the break. I guess I should mind my own business.
I've got a couple of weeks, but no, a couple of weeks, couple of minutes. Listen to me. I'm sitting here reading something.
Well, what it is on the book is a photo I got from a lady in the church, and it's a picture of a mountain with a tree on it and a silhouette of the Virgin Mary in the background. And she and another lady had gone to Medjugorje on a pilgrimage. And this lady had taken the photo of Mount Podpro, which is where the apparitions occurred. And all she was taking a photo of was the hill and the site, if you will. And when the photo was developed, the image of the Virgin Mary was on the back of it. And there was no chicanery. Nobody made any money on this or nothing like that. At any rate, the woman knew I was writing a book on it, Marian Apparitions, and it's on the front of this book. And it's a miraculous event is what it is.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Well, there's some interesting conversations and questions being posted again here in the chat room. They're really active tonight, Kevin. They're just anxious to ask you stuff. Boy, my goodness, I'm getting tons of them. But, a lot of things do get tossed up in the church where it's like when you see something, they, even when I've mentioned, I've seen Jesus, I've had these experiences. Did you test the spirit? Did you make sure it wasn't false? So we want to get into that conversation when we get over this break here. You guys, you're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander and Inception Radio Network, and we'll be right back.
locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Hi, this is Heidi Hollis, and I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about myself and my writings because I am a published author. I write on everything from angels to aliens, ghosts, demons, shadow people, I don't know, you name it, I do it. And I would like to invite you to go check out my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com, which shows, oh my goodness, all my books, and I think you guys will dig it. Jesus is No Joke, which is about holy encounters with Jesus, which is actually quite different than what you might expect. And then my book, The Secret War, which is based on shadow people. And I am also a cartoonist, diary blog of the Fickle Fighters. These are kids' cartoons that I do, and they are exploring absolutely everything that I write about in my regular books. So I invite you, please go check out my website, HeidiHollis.com. Check out my books. I think you'll dig it. It's something different. It's something new. And I write just as I speak. So don't say I didn't warn you.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again. Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Hello, folks. Heidi Hollis is rocking the airwaves every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on IRN. But if you want to learn more about Heidi, check out her amazing website at www.HeidiHollis.com. For IRN, this is MJ.
From aliens to ghosts, demons to angels, and from shadow people to the outlandish, Heidi Hollis is the Outlander.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, at The Outlander here on Inception Radio Network. And I've got Kevin Cook. We are talking about Marian Apparitions, which is what his book is based on. Blah. I swear to God. And just before the break, we're talking about, discernment. People who say, like when I've even shared, I've seen Jesus 5 times, and they're like, did you test the spirit? Did you, make certain of what you were seeing? And so somebody asked, does a person, how do they tell the difference between what's a real apparition and a false one?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. And also the Marian thing in general. And let me just say this, and if I ruffle a few feathers, I really don't care. But what I'm saying is, there has been criticism of Mary and revering her by the Protestant types that don't even know their own Bible. Because, well, in Luke, a lot of the praise for Mary, it says, forever people will call you blessed and all that. Now, if Mary was like some Episcopal priest once said, like somebody like your Aunt Phyllis down the road, they wouldn't be calling her blessed through all eternity, right? And this is their own Bible, and they're ignorant of their own Bible and other allusions to Mary in the Bible. So she's not, in all her activities, she doesn't go into business for herself, or she's not trying to have people worship her per se. In other words, I'm sitting here knocking pins and all this Protestant BS about, revering Mary is bad. And I'm trying to do it as diplomatically as I can. But what I'm saying is it's idiotic to look at it that way and to test the spirits. I mean, Mary is not saying go worship Satan or worship me or anything even close to that. Her whole mission is always to mention coming to her son and this and that, and, and mentioning and liaison with Jesus. As a matter of fact, Jesus is a frequent visitor at these Marian apparitions himself, like at Rwanda in the 90s. So, and what I'm saying is, truly, this is a decent and divine experience. And get this, it's funny how things kind of go into fall in line when you're doing something like this. Okay.
Yeah.
I had there's a very major bank I had a little conflict with, and I was going to sue them and, blah, blah, blah. And they mishandled my assets and blah, 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 blah. So, I threatened them naturally with, terrible things like lawsuits and TV program appearances and everything else. And the vice president in Frisco said, get rid of this guy, get rid of this guy. So I ran across, there's a reason to all this. I ran across the local manager who was going to placate me and negotiate a settlement with these people. And, he was a Catholic too, and we got past the settlement part. And I was telling him about the book was coming out in a couple months and all this. And he said that he was from the, New Mexico area, mm-hmm. and he knew people that examined. Are you familiar with the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of people, Latin Americans or Hispanics, will have that on the back of their trucks and all this.
Yeah.
That depiction is from a cactus husk garment that has been in constant church custody since 1531.
Whoa.
It's on display right now at the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City. They have 20 million visitors see it a year. It's in pristine condition. Now, Heidi, get this. Here's where things get really quite impressive. This guy I knew that from, I almost said the name of the bank, I'm not supposed to. He knew engineers from Sandia Labs that had examined elements of this cactus husk garment. Heidi, there is no pigment. The image of the Virgin Mary has no pigment in the cactus husks. We could not duplicate that today with today's technology. Couldn't do it because there'd have to be pigment. There's no pigment, no traces.
How are they saying this thing got made then?
They have no idea.
I'm looking at it online right now. It's pretty
They
cool.
have no idea. But I'm just saying this fellow just firsthand, so I got it secondhand, actually talked to the engineers at Sandia Labs. They were completely gobsmacked, had no idea. They couldn't replicate it if you had a 45 to their head. Couldn't do it. And also think about this too, just forgetting the image. And also there's other aspects of the image I'll talk about in a minute. But look. If you and I took some cactus husks just for the heck of it, threw it in the shoebox and put it in the closet, and stay there for 20 years, do you think it's going to look just fine when we pull them back out? No.
No.
It's going to be dust. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this garment has only been behind glass for the last 150 years of the 500.
Mm-hmm.
For 350 years, it was exposed to humidity, cold, heat, just the normal things that you'd be exposed to in the environment. And it's still in pristine condition. Now, that's a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. I mean, the facts are what they are. And like you said, I think probably the coolest one that you've told me about was the sightings in Egypt, and how, the government was like, this crap isn't going to go on. This image of Mary was seen walking at the top of this building, or what was it, a church or cathedral? What was it?
St. Mark's Coptic Church in Egypt.
People have got to look it up. The images are unbelievable. And, so they would send people to go and, see the hoaxsters that were creating this. And
the government was a Muslim government, of course.
Right, in Egypt.
Yeah, and what they did, Nasser was the strongman dictator at the time, and he sent special forces troops door to door to door, a mile square around that church, to see if it was some kind of projection or whatever. And understand, too, this is Egypt in 68. I mean, come on, they don't have any holographic. We barely have them now. But certainly in Egypt, almost 50 years ago, they didn't have them. No.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, after their investigation, to their credit, they said, yes, the government has checked it out, and it was a vision of the Virgin Mary, period, end quote. And that's what the Egyptian Muslim government said. Yes.
All right. I mean, that's mind blowing. And I mean and this went on for a long time, these sightings.
2 years, 3 to 5 times a week. And they had as many as 250,000 people in that church square at any given time during the sightings. The Vatican, of course, investigated, New York Times, Paris Match, Stern, it's a German version of Time magazine, if you will, or that kind of magazine. And Time magazine, of course, did too. I mean, this was as true, Heidi, as the hand on the end of your arm, really.
That's true. I mean, I think it's just awesome. I mean,
if you brought all this into court, a judge would have to hit the gavel, say, okay, case closed, this is true. I mean, you can't fight this. I mean, you come up with all the double talk snickering and all this stuff. But I mean, my golly, Heidi, I mean, you're talking, the images you're talking about that you've seen on the computer were on Arab television. 14 million people saw that.
Wow.
And untold numbers saw them in the street on a weekly basis.
Right. That's just amazing. And even if you're not of that belief, of the Catholicism, I mean, you have to take it in for what it is, because it's right there. I mean, the pictures are amazing. They're amazing.
They are. And don't forget, another major one that most people are familiar with is Fatima in 1917.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Because it became such a secret of what what was the information ever revealed of Fatima. I mean, the church
it was the third
took
secret of Fatima. I know. And okay, just as a brief synopsis. The Virgin Mary started appearing to 3 peasant children in rural Portugal, and this was during the World War I period. And Sister Lucia, Lucia, was the primary one that had interfaced with Mary, and actually talked to her. And what happened was she started appearing on a weekly basis to these children, and crowds started appearing, and more crowds and more crowds. And at its culmination in October, if I remember correctly, of 1917, there was 100,000 people when they had the Dance of the Sun and all that. Right. And this was foretold. Mary told Lucia to tell the people that this was going to happen. Miraculous events were going to happen, etc. That they believe, and they had get this: the crowd was infiltrated with a lot of people from the government, because at the time, the Portuguese government was a socialist government. It used the church as its whipping boy, as say the church was an endorser of the status quo, if you will. and, kind of anti-socialist kind of type at the time, or at least they were identified as such. Right. They were identified with the establishment, and maybe with good reason, but whatever. But they were anti-church. In other words, they're trying very hard to prove the children to be deceitful or find some con involved in there and all that. They threatened them, all this. Okay. No one, after this event, after they experienced the events that occurred there, said it was a hoax. Not the reporters that were government stooges. Nobody. Not one. Not anybody. I defy anybody to show me a first thing. And this was reported, like I say, all of Europe was there. The U.S. was there. This was a big deal, Heidi. 100,000 people witnessed that. And there's even pictures in the book of them staring in awe of what was going on.
Right. Now, I heard that some said it looked like a disc. Why did some people see it differently than others?
Well, now, Heidi, I'll tell you that there is a problem in that, and is what it is, not the disc. But see, I used to be, in one of my incarnations, I was an adjuster for State Farm and investigated accidents. And one person will say this and one person will say that. But, usually there's a fairly consistent story. But on details, some people, frankly, give different accounts. But the bulk of the story is true. Yes, did Joe hit Sally? Yes, he did. But he was going fast. No, he wasn't. This kind of thing. So in other words, I wouldn't vex about that. But the thing Nori was going on about is that the Virgin Mary would kind of like in a glowing form show herself over a tree near these kids, okay? But, like I said, how does he know how you're supposed to show up from heaven? I mean, a helicopter? I mean, how does he know? I mean, it wasn't a UFO with little lights and take me to your leader or something, a ladder that came down. But, I mean, he was trying to read anything he possibly could into it being a UFO issue. But remember, Mary's been seen by people in rooms and everything else, not just, outside in a disc. And it wasn't really a disc per se. It was more of like a glowing ball of light, if you will. And, in other words, Nori, maybe he wasn't trying to be intentionally obnoxious, but it was such that, yes, it was what it was. But, you're always trying to read UFO issues into it, and it's not appropriate, no.
Yeah, that's, and why, this is what I don't understand. It's like you and I both are in the business of, showing our faith, faithfully open, all that stuff, because we hope that other people would learn and maybe grow, without smushing it down people's throats. And then, something awesome happens, like a sign from God or Mary or Jesus, and here comes the Catholic Church grabbing it, hoarding it up, and not releasing it to people. I just don't understand that. I don't understand.
Well, now there is a rationale to that. There is a rationale to it.
Okay, what is that?
Well, okay, the Secret of Fatima is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Now, information that was imparted to Sister Lucia was very dramatic, and it should be dwelt on first, is that she was speaking of Russia with its errors would cause havoc in the world and so forth. Well, now look, this is a 10 or 11-year-old kid in rural Portugal. I'm not even sure they could hardly read, or if they could, just very rudimentarily. She had, and this is rural area in the middle of the boonies, she didn't know what Russia had as far as socialist government and communist Bolshevik activities and all this. In other words, she was not prepped in Russia trying to promote communism or anything like that. They had no notion of that. This kid barely knew anything about her village. She probably couldn't even point Russia out on the map till later when she got a better education. You see what I mean?
Right.
Even a 10 or 11-year-old kid in Russia wouldn't even know about that, hardly. Well, so what I'm saying, in other words, there's certain prophecies she was given. Also, a second war after the World War I that was ongoing at the time. There'd be a second and more powerful war, which obviously was the Second World War. And then there's the third prophecy that perhaps it's been suggested had apocalyptic elements, like the end of the world, serious deaths, blah, blah, blah. And the potential explanation is the church does act in a paternal sense and might have been protecting us from getting scared, and that is possible.
possible. But it's just, I don't know. It's like, I think there are so many cool and miraculous things that happen. Like some of the stories even that I've heard face to face or gotten in an email over the years. I'm like, wow, if this was truly given the credit it's due or acknowledged or even nodded at, this could change the world. But it gets, people feel discredited and or not, in their position to share, and they just hoard it and keep it to themselves. And then, they go and they share it with somebody from the church, and it gets poo-pooed upon, and it's not approved or thought to be a miracle. Like here in the United States, there is one place only in the United States that has been ordained as being a place of miracles, and that's in Wisconsin, in Champion, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Our Lady of Good Help, I think it is.
Yeah, but there's been so many other places that have had awesome things happen.
Now hold up. Now hold up. The church is very meticulous, to their credit, is very meticulous. Remember I told you about that chart I had from the International Marian Research Institute, 1900 to the present? If you go through that chart, most of them have no decision. Not because they're saying it was spurious, but they don't have enough. It's like solving a crime, if you will. There's just not enough evidence that they could really hang a decision on, if you will. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's not to try to cover it up at all. They're just trying to be very, very careful in what they authenticate and what they don't, to their credit. I mean, I'm not making them to be perfect, but that's what they try to do.
I understand. But it's like, to me, it's like people hold back in believing because they're waiting for that A-OK from them. But I don't know. It's like I wish people believed each other a little bit more.
It's not as bad as that. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud of the church the way they do it for the most part. But I mean, I really am. But what I'm saying is, here's what's frustrating to me. I guess that's why I wrote the book. I guess it makes sense I'd be frustrated that this is so valid a bunch of evidence, so long-term and experience, 2,000 years. The first Marian apparition was recorded in 40 A.D., okay, 40 A.D., okay? Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way to the current times. And like I say, with all this evidence, I didn't even get into the Virgin Mary's eyes at that Guadalupe image on the shroud. That there's a whole lot of issues that are absolutely mind-blowing. But at any rate, trust me, it's a miraculous garment. It's you can't replicate it. And this has been in constant custody and visible in that church for 500 years. So this isn't anybody pulling a fast one. This isn't anybody, and a bunch of UFO people making up some whiz-bang garment and this. Come on. To do what? What is their MO? To promote Catholicism? I mean, why would the aliens give a rip about Catholicism?
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, you got to be practical,
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's fascinating. But for people like myself who are not, Catholic, and we hear of, the church didn't say that's a miracle yet. It's like, huh? It's like, wow, that is so cool. I mean, did the church acknowledge that Coptic church in Egypt as being a place of, the miracle sightings of
yes.
Mary?
Yeah,
they did.
The Coptic church investigated, and they said, yes, it is what it is.
I'm looking at the pictures right now of Mary and from the Coptic church. I mean, they are just incredible. Absolutely incredible. The photos are.
It's really good we're having this show because, I guess what I'm saying is, even though I wrote the book, I've been away from the information for a while, but I mean, it's kind of like getting refreshed to experience it again. And it's so awesome. It makes me feel good because I realize that, maybe I've done something good after for all the evil that I may not be pitching coal. I may not be pitching coals in the furnace forever or something.
Everybody does their part, Kevin. It's cool. I mean, I think it's neat to bring this type of information to the forefront.
It is. But why, Heidi? I'll ask you as a Protestant and just a radio show host person and all that. Why are people oblivious to this and look past it to deal with idiotic issues? Well, I mean, they're more worried about the Apprentice show with Donald Trump than they are this.
That is so very true. I think that more needs to be done in the angle of miracles, because I remember some time ago there was a program, was it Proof or Evidence of Miracles? And they tested some of the statues that cried blood
Right.
or tear, and they put in an MRI machine, and then it was just amazing, and the guy that did this documentary was a skeptic, and he's like, at the end of this, I'm like, whoa. They tested the blood that came out of the statue.
Well, Our Lady of Akita.
It was
Our
amazing.
Lady of Akita.
So there's a lot of evidence out there.
In the 70s and 80s, Our Lady of Akita in Japan, they tested the tears, absolutely human tears.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean,
and that was done by non-Christians. It was done. But what I'm saying is, but I'm still, I guess, I hate to be, I'm not in charge of why people behave the way they do, but it says in the Bible, Heidi, God draws to him those that he wants. Now, I've had some of these critics, I've talked to them and said, well, maybe God just don't want you. And what I'm saying is, it's not, yes, I'm smart aleck, but at the same time, I'm thinking, hey, the Bible says what it says. And maybe some of these people that are oblivious to it, he just really don't care. Now, I'm serious. I didn't make that up. He draws the people to him he wants.
Well, a lot of people have asked me, why'd you have the experiences you did? And I'm like, well, hold on. God is pretty all-knowing, and I think he knew what I would do with the information, that I wouldn't sit on it, that I would do my best to share it in hopes of helping others,
right.
So, same for you.
Well, yes, and I don't know, but still, it does make you scratch your head, because getting back to what Barth said earlier on, he's thinking, how come people aren't talking about this on a weekly basis instead of what the latest... Say, oh, by the way, at any given time, from my understanding from the International Marian Research Institute, there's about a dozen apparitional events going on worldwide at any given time, and they're looking into all of them as they occur. And, for real. Yeah. And what I'm saying is the pot's always stirring in this, and the Virgin Mary is very active, and so forth and so on. And this has been going on for 2,000 years. This isn't a Johnny-come-lately deal.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's absolutely astonishing, and I just love this stuff. I love this information. It's
well, I'm just amazed that you smell the odor of sanctity being a Protestant. No,
Hey, I didn't tell you about my very real, I guess you could say, kind of an encounter even with Mother Teresa.
That's pretty good. Well,
I haven't told you about this.
Very good. That's very good. I'm interested in that. But also, I really feel good about this. But for those that want the book, they could just go to kevincookshow.com and your book will be on there. Your books will be on there. My book will be on there. They can just punch it and get it from Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, and they'd be in business.
Oh, well, you know what? This has been an absolutely fun and interesting perspective to get from you. And real quick, people have asked in the chat room, and I'm curious too, what do you think of the progressive views of our new Pope, or your new Pope?
I don't agree with all of them. No, I don't. But he has some good points. But look, I don't care how progressive the Pope is. He could be a swell guy and want to have a beer with him or something like that. But if it's allusions to the acceptance of homosexuality, I'd say I'm against it. And I'm not saying we got to burn him alive or anything, but I'm saying, look, the Bible's either has something to say about it or it doesn't. No. That's it. And I don't care how amiable the Pope is. Fine, there's a limit to what he can say. But But as far as other things, yes, he's very positive. And well,
I disagree with you when it comes to that. But anyways, yeah. I just think people deserve to have equal rights. But that's just me. But anyways, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Kevin Cook. It was fun to have you on. I guess I'll be on with you again this Tuesday. So thanks for coming on.
And Monday too. I hope you remember Monday.
Monday, yes, Monday. We're going to be Epic Voyagers. We're going to be on that. So that'll be fun. So you guys, remember, you can catch me here every Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You've been listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander on Inception Radio Network. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here. Good night, everybody.